Hi, my name is Celina DaSilva, and I'm the 9 through 12 English Department Program Coordinator. So before our massive curriculum overhaul, our curriculums were basic overviews of content that teachers should be getting through. Before 2012, many of our courses relied on textbooks, and the course overviews focused on timelines that we had to progress through. For example, our American literature curriculum started with the pre-Puritan writing and went all the way to postmodern American authors. And the goal was to hit all of those major writing movements throughout American history. And so previously to our overhaul, teachers were given a list of suggested text, suggested objectives and standards with exceedingly general assessment guidelines. For example, one of the earlier versions of our curriculum for American literature, you had a suggested Socratic seminar, but did not include rubrics, grading guidelines, or an overview. While Socratic seminars are a wonderful way to glean student understanding and knowledge of a particular concept or content area, it lacked consistency because the lack of rubrics provided no common assessment criteria for these teachers to use. So the major changes that we've made in our curriculum is that our curriculums no longer focus on mass-produced textbooks, nor do they follow a chronological sequence based on content. Our curriculum now focuses on skills, and we determine which text to use based on reading, writing, and thinking skills necessary for our students to be successful in the post-secondary world. For example, rather than focusing on early Puritan authors before reading Arthur Miller's The Crucible, we focus more on understanding the historical context surrounding the colonies at this time and how we can use a mix of fiction and nonfiction in order to identify what that community specifically valued. Through a deeper understanding of the time and place and the people, students are able to understand and analyze the subtext of Miller's writing, and they're able to understand the characters he portrays in a deeper sense. Doing so helps students understand the nuances of human nature, which ultimately prepares them for when we analyze McCarthyism during the American 1950s. Finally, we ask students to critically analyze modern-day instances of witch hunts and mass hysteria to understand why, despite our better judgment, these things still happen. Along with these changes, the inclusion of the profile of a graduate capacities and their previous iterations as 21st century skills helped our teachers evolve their approaches from strictly content-based instruction to more skill-based instruction, supported by key pieces of content. We had to ask ourselves, which was more important, for students to remember specific lines from Miller's play, or for students to be able to use literature to better understand the world that they play a role in? The first stage of our curriculum is stage 1. The stage 1 of our curriculum includes key informational points necessary to align and focus our units. Stage 1 includes selected Common Core state standards that align with the goals and the purposes of the unit. In addition, Stage 1 includes our self-identified profile of a graduate capacities, usually it's 1 or 2, that we will address throughout the unit. Along with these elements, we also include transfer goals, essential questions, universal understandings, key knowledge, and then skills. All of these items provide a clear and direct foundation for instruction and learning. A teacher can use Stage 1 to hyper-focus their approach and guide their instruction. For example, transfer goals should be a crucial focus of the unit. They should act for a basis for all learning, and the teacher should really track mastery of working towards that goal. The English content area is exceptionally recursive. These transfer goals ensure that students are maintaining mastery of a concept, such as analyzing for a theme, and elevating and increasing their mastery with each year. If we continue to think about the example regarding theme, a teacher should be able to focus their reteaching on elevating that concept through those transfer goals. If students are not making progress through mastery, then they should be able to pull small groups or reteach concepts in order to transfer those materials and those skills. As part of our curriculum writing process, a team creates a suggested scope and sequence to achieve the results of the unit. This typically includes common objectives, teaching points, or learning goals, along with required or supplemental readings. In addition, learning activities might include specific information related to gradual release, which is I do, we do, you do, or structures for student independent work. This collaborative effort blends together examples of teacher planning from previous years with newly invigorated goal of specific standards and common assessments. Oftentimes, teachers unpack Stage 3 together, especially when it's a newly adopted curriculum. They work collaboratively to plan day-to-day plans to connect the dots, so to speak. As time spent teaching the unit, teachers might elect to approach lessons in a different manner and might use slightly different supports to teach their students, especially if those are based on student need. As for Stage 2, in my personal opinion, Stage 2 is the most important component of our curriculum. It's the living, breathing embodiment of Stage 1. Stage 2 provides teachers with necessary formative and summative assessments, including their overviews and assessment criteria and rubrics. These elements are important because they act as the end goal for all things listed in Stage 1 and then Stage 3, which is our learning plan. Stage 2 ensures alignment across the grade level to maintain consistency and measure transfer, growth, and mastery. I often consider transfer tasks, larger formative assessments, as a dipstick to measure whether my students are actually starting to get it. They support my instruction and help determine what steps I might need to take to adjust for student outcomes. Stage 2 also allows for teachers to participate in beneficial collaborative discussions on student outcomes. After a specific assessment, whether a cumulative PBA or a formative assessment, I know I can sit with my course peers and discuss what students understood, how they grew, and what we need to do in order to help students meet the expectations. In terms of the profile of a graduate capacities, these live authentically in our rubrics, and they're usually in the cumulative or PBA rubrics. The district provided rubrics for each capacity, and as a department, we work to embed those rubrics or the language of those rubrics authentically in each assessment. Doing so creates a culture where students understand that there is a larger skill being considered here, and that larger skill is one that's necessary to be a successful member of society. Prior to our major curriculum changes, summative assessments took the form of very prescribed essays or traditional tests on various texts. These assessments, while valid in their assessment of a student's basic understanding and comprehension of the material, lived more in a basic area of Webb's depth of knowledge, like recall or skill and conceptual knowledge. Our assessments now, mainly due to their alignment with our profile of a graduate capacities, live at a higher end of the DOK, extended thinking usually. One example of this can be seen in our grade 10 American Literature PBA at the end of the Crucible. Teachers would have traditionally assigned a very prescribed essay about the characters in the Crucible, but now we use a transfer task to assess students' abilities to analyze character, and they have to act as a lawyer or a townsperson that is charged with defending one of the characters. And so that helps them think about multiple components of the text while still having open choice. The structure of this assignment falls within a DOK3, which relates to strategic thinking. Finally, as part of a summative assessment for this unit, students must research and analyze an example of a modern case of mass hysteria or a witch hunt. Similar to the commentary Miller sets forth about McCarthyism, our students must consider why cases of mass hysteria occur, despite the mentality that we as humans know better. Beyond pushing students to make modern connections, this PBA also assesses students' ability to meet the standard of the two of our profile of a graduate capacities, analyzing and inquiry.